Let's get some more analysis. Jennifer Murtazashvili is the director of the Center for Governance and Markets at the University of Pittsburgh. She joins us live from Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. Jennifer, good to have you on the show. You know, for about a week now, we had been hearing from U.S. sources that they were fearing something, that they put out a security threat. Was this inevitable?
Well, we certainly knew it was going to happen. I mean, even hours before this attack occurred, we saw stories coming out in the BBC saying that ISIS or Daesh was going to attack the airport. We saw that the prisons where many of these ISIS leadership were held were emptied by the Taliban. Last week. So I think this was completely anticipated, and it's really surprising to me that U.S. personnel were near these gates where we clearly knew that there was going to be targets.
My question to you is, who's in control? Because I think that's one of the most important things that people look for after a situation like this. You have a former government that has fled, a group, the Taliban, that has come in, claimed control of the city and the country. They came in on the pretext of, look, the previous corrupt government, the inadequate government wasn't able to provide you security. We will do that. What we've seen today is the city's not secure. We've just listened to the U.S. President Joe Biden. Who's in control here?
We don't know. And in fact, what we're seeing is actually, I know many people around the world are paying attention to Afghanistan for the first time in a long time. But what we're seeing here is a continuation of efforts by ISIS. There have been so many attacks by ISIS, by Haqqani networks, by groups affiliated with ISIS and the Taliban in Kabul, in major cities for a very long time. You recall in March of this year, there were more than 60 schoolgirls they were Hazara, mostly Shia, who were killed on their way to school or coming out of their school building. There have been these kinds of attacks that have been relentless in Kabul for the past several years. So this is not new. And it means that the Taliban do not have control of the city. They don't have a monopoly on violence. And it's really unclear. This is not going to be reassuring for anybody who is trying to live their lives in Afghanistan, or any kind of hope that even some were holding out for, that the Taliban could really assert authority very quickly.
You said it's not reassuring for anybody, but I think the most important people here are the Afghans themselves. What should they be feeling?
This is, I think, devastating. I think while there were some hopes that the Taliban could achieve this monopoly on violence, that they could reassert themselves as a state, even though they were wildly unpopular, especially in Kabul, there was some glimmer of hope that they could maintain order in the city. And we're seeing that that is just not the case. And I can't imagine that many people like the folks, who worked for the UN, who are desperately trying to get out of the country, this is going to lead to a real sense of panic. And I don't think that the next few days are going to be very peaceful in Kabul because of this.
Despite many allied countries wanting to postpone their exit out of Afghanistan, NATO included, the United States is towing the line. It started with Donald Trump, now is continuing with Joe Biden. He's going to be getting a lot of criticism back home in terms of how he's approaching this, how he's viewed the relationship with the Taliban.
So the United States has been in love with deadlines since it's been in Afghanistan. President Obama announced a withdrawal in 2009, and the U.S. has been withdrawing ever since and setting deadlines and not meeting them, setting deadlines and not meeting them. And these deadlines at a certain point are just not credible. President Biden set August 31st, once again, as this sort of artificial deadline, and we can see the damage that this is causing. Regardless of whether you feel that the United States should be in Afghanistan or not, the way that this withdrawal has been handled has been an utter disaster, devastating for the people of Afghanistan. Most importantly, as we can see, the U.S. has incurred so many losses, more losses today than it has in years. This has just been an utter disaster, and it was completely avoidable.
Jennifer, the president, Joe Biden, for about 10 days now, he's been trying to underline the fact that, this is in the United States' national interest in terms of getting out. The Pentagon, for several days now, has said that the situation on the ground is fluid, it is dynamic. Looking at the events after today, the two blasts, more than 60 Afghans killed, a dozen U.S. military personnel. What changes? What is in the U.S.'s national interest?
Well, clearly evacuating along these lines is no longer in the United States' national security interests. We're losing people, losing these personnel. We are betraying the Afghan people who we promised to help exit securely and safely. President Biden has made that obligation many times, and it's even undermining the Taliban government. I mean, and if that's the only thing that we were going to leave the people of Afghanistan is some semblance of stability, the United States has failed on all fronts right now. And this is not an argument to keep the United States in Afghanistan indefinitely. It's about thinking very strategically about how you're withdrawing. And this means extending beyond August 31st. The Taliban is in power now. If the United States wanted to stay, it could certainly do that. Would it face more repercussions from the Taliban? Given the leverage I think that the United States has financially on the Taliban, I think that's highly unlikely. And now given the rivalry between ISIS and the Taliban, as they're jockeying for control, I don't think it makes any sense for the Taliban to attack the United States if they were to stay a little longer to evacuate its citizens and those who worked with the United States very smoothly.
Jennifer Murtazashvili, thank you very much for joining us. I do appreciate your time and some excellent analysis there. Thank you.